Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Today we have a very special episode for you, a compilation of some of the greatest entitled parent stories we read over the past year. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a few hours of the most entitled parents you've ever heard of. And by the way, Karen assured me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try to speak to anyone's manager for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And become an official member of the Re-Army today, and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming video. r/Entitled Parents. How dare you break your leg at my party? Our cast. We've got entitled Mom, we've got ex-best friend, and we've got me. Background. So me and ex-friend used to be best friends. She had shown some entitlement before, but I usually brushed it off as she was just tired or sad or cranky. I always made up some excuse. I don't know why, to be honest. Anyways, because ex-friend had her birthday, she invited me because I was her best friend. Now, this party was at a roller skating rink, and I loved roller skating, so of course I said yes. That, and I still thought she was my best friend at the time. On to the story. So when ex-friend invites me to the party, I was really excited. I got her a present and everything. It was the best. Problem is, when we got there, she totally ditched me to hang out with some other girls she invited to her party. I thought, whatever, just means I get to skate more. A few hours of skating later, the announcer at the roller rink called out that it was time to play some games. Racing, limbo, match the number, hokey pokey, etc. I decided to do something stupid. I had seen other people stop skating by doing this trick where they skidded to a screeching halt, all while maintaining their balance. I decided to try to do that. Only problem was, I had never done that before. I ended up losing my balance and falling backwards while my left leg folded underneath me. I will never forget the sickening crack of bones that I heard when I landed. At first, I was in shock, and my brain hadn't registered the pain yet, so I was just laying on the ground. No one came to help me at first, because they probably assumed I had just fallen. But within seconds, my brain realized that, oh, pain, and I started sobbing. I ripped my skates off and curled into a fetal position, cradling my leg close to me. Then, someone realized I wasn't okay and rushed over to help me. When they realized I couldn't stand, they called for a wheelchair. It was only then that ex-friend realized that something was happening, and that was because no one was looking at her anymore, and were all staring my way with mixed expressions of shock and empathy. When she finally looked my way, she seemed shocked at first as well, but her face seemed to morph into a glare. I can't be sure if it actually did because my eyes were pretty blurry from the tears. I'll spare you all the other details, but I ended up going to the hospital via ambulance. The rest of the story will be told from my mom's perspective, as I was riding in an ambulance and was not there to witness this. According to my mom, after I left, ex-friend went straight to her mom and started complaining. Ex-friend: Ugh, I can't believe her. OP totally ruined my birthday party. I bet she did that on purpose. She's probably not even that hurt. Why can't just one day be all about me? Entitled Mom: I know, sweetie. I'm sorry. I'll take you out to eat later to make up for it. Go tell your friends that the party is over. Ex-friend begrudgingly went to go tell them the party was over, so that she and her mom could go with my mom to the hospital. My mom said that when ex-friend told her friends the party was over, it was because OP purposely hurt herself, and that I had wanted all the attention, and several other things I don't care to name. Mom was mad as heck when she overheard ex-friend, but she didn't do anything because she had bigger things to deal with, like a daughter with broken bones. Eventually, ex-friend and entitled mom left with my mom to go see me, and according to my mom, ex-friend was glaring out the window the entire time and grumbling under her breath about how I ruined her party and was probably lying about being hurt. Well, guess what? I wasn't. After I got to the hospital, they took x-rays and determined that I had 2 broken bones. I had snapped both my tibia, the big bone in your calf that spans to your knee, and my growth plate, the bone in your ankle that helps you grow, in half, and there were splinters coming from the bones. I had broken my bone so bad that it warranted surgery, and that's what I got. When I heard about what ex-friend had said, I was absolutely heartbroken. I don't know why I didn't just drop her right then. It would have saved so much heartache. Next we've got entitled Mom attempts to steal/burn my notebook. Backstory. I draw things I see in my nightmares to keep them from becoming reoccurring problems. New ones form and replace the ones I get out of my head anyway, so why do I try? Our cast. We've got me, entitled Mom, entitled Kid, Nice Man, and Park Security. Let's get to it. So one day I was at a park drawing in my notebook when out of the blue came the whale, our entitled Mom, with her entitled Kid. Entitled Kid. Look, Mommy, an artist, points at me. Entitled Mom. Cool. Wanna ask her to draw you, entitled Kid? Entitled Kid. Yeah. Me. Oh, sorry. I don't really draw people. I only draw to get nightmares out of my head. Sorry. Please? No, sorry, bud. I can't draw that well. Let me see. Entitled Kid then looks at my drawings, turns a shade of pale, and runs screaming to entitled Mom. Mommy, her drawings are scary. Really? Let me see them. Me. I'd rather not let go of this if you don't mind, miss. It's just a notebook. Let me see it. Snatches my notebook. Hey, give that back. Entitled Mom also turns a shade of pale. These drawings are horrifying. Takes out a lighter and holds it up to my notebook. No! Give me back my notebook. These demonic pictures need to burn. I snatch back my notebook. No! They're mine. Enter Nice Man. Nice Man. What are you doing to this young lady's notebook, ma'am? Entitled Mom. No, you have it wrong. This girl was trying to steal my notebook, so I am burning it so she can't. She's lying. Nice Man. Let me see it. Okay. I hand him the notebook. No. Nice Man. Who drew these? Me. I did, and I can prove it in any way you ask. No, I did, and I shouldn't need to prove it, because she clearly stole the notebook. Nice Man. Okay. He turns to me. Duplicate the signature at the bottom of the drawings to prove ownership of the notebook. Me. All right. I duplicate it perfectly. Nice Man. Here you go. Hands me my notebook. Entitled Mom. What? Are you seriously going to take that as proof? Any idiot can duplicate a signature. Nice Man turns to entitled Mom. You refused to prove it, and she did it perfectly, so I can deduce that it was hers. Entitled Mom. Fine. Give me the notebook. Tries several times and eventually makes a horrible chicken scratch version of my signature. There. Now give me my notebook. Nice Man. No. Your duplicate is hardly anything close to hers, so it clearly belongs to her. Nice try. Entitled Mom then tries to attack Nice Man, but just as she does, Park Security shows up. Security. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Calm down, ma'am. Entitled Mom. No, they are trying to steal my notebook. Security turns to me and Nice Man. Is this true? Me. No, she tried to steal and burn my notebook. Nice Man. I can prove it. I had them duplicate the signature under the drawing, and she, gestures to me, did it perfectly. And she, gestures to entitled Mom, made one that is barely legible. I can show you. Security. Let me see. Have them each do it again. Nice Man. Okay. Hands me the notebook. Would you mind doing that again? Sure. I do it perfectly once again. Nice Man. Now you. Hands it to entitled Mom. Do it again. No, I have done it once already. Security. Do it, ma'am, or I will be forced to take you in for attempting to steal and burn personal property and attempted assault. Fine. Give me the notebook. Nice Man. Here you go. hands it to Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom takes it and sprints away with her kid in tow. Security quickly caught her and returned the notebook to me. Security: "Here you go, miss." Hands me the notebook. Me: "Thank you, Mr. Security Guard." "You're welcome, Miss OP. By the way, I read your signature. That's how I know your name." Entitled Mom, struggling to break security's grip. "Let me go now, you horrible excuse for security guard, or I'll sue." Security calls officers to pick up Entitled Mom. "Nope, this is your fault. You brought it on yourself by trying to steal Miss OP's notebook and attempting to assault Mr. Nice Man." Next we've got Entitled Mom Knows Better Than the Doctor. Cast: we've got me, we've got Entitled Stepmom, we've got Granddad, and Little Sister. On to the show. I recently had a stomach problem where I couldn't go to the toilet properly. I won't go into details, and I went to go see a doctor as it had been going on for about 2 days. Entitled Mom couldn't take me because she had to go shopping and my dad was at his work. So Granddad had to come and pick me up and take me to the doctor's. We talked to the doctor, blah blah blah, and he told me to take something called Benefiber, which is just wheat. I bought some on my way home with Granddad. When we got back home, Entitled Mom had to do something important, so Entitled Mom told me to go home with Granddad. Entitled Mom hadn't specified when to come back or anything, so it was a surprise when I got a phone call from her asking where I was and why I wasn't home. When I got driven back, I took the Benefiber with me inside. Entitled Mom: "What's that?" Me: It's Benefiber." "What's that?" "It's just wheat to help me digest food properly." The questions went on, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. Entitled Mom: "Give me the container." I hand it over and she reads the contents. "My God, they think this is good for you?" "All it is wheat." "You should be having this instead. It's better and healthier for you." The container she hands to me is one of those vegan-run companies, and it contains stuff that I don't need. Me: "I will have the Benefiber, and that's it." "But that's bad for you, and you should trust me." "Sure, I'll trust 5 minutes of internet experience over someone with 5 years of medical experience." "Yes, you should trust me over the doctor." I sighed and walked away. I thought that was it, but no. Later that day, Entitled Mom tells my dad and little sister that the Benefiber is bad for me. Dad tells her that it's not and walks off to do something for work. Little sister believes Entitled Mom, and when I next put it over my soup, little sister says it's bad for me and I'll keep getting sick. I tell her that it's what the doctor gave me, but she says Entitled Mom is always right. Ah, well, it's fine now. Or is it? The next morning, I wake up and go to have breakfast. I'm not going to school, and Entitled Mom doesn't have a job, so she is at home. I make my breakfast and look for the Benefiber. I can't see it anywhere, so I ask Entitled Mom where it is. She keeps looking at her phone and says she doesn't know. I feel like something is up, so I look in the bin, and hey, presto, it's sitting right there at the top. I don't tell Entitled Mom, but I get it out and wash it and then use some. Entitled Mom comes over, looks at what I'm doing, and has a disgusted look. She just stares at me, then walks away. Next we've got Entitled Parent nearly crashes into us on a busy roundabout, blames my grandfather. The cast. We've got me, about 10 in this story. We've got Entitled Mom, a woman with less car safety know-how than me. We've got Granddad, we've got Grandmother, and my brother. The story. So me and my brother went to a theme park with our grandparents. We had a great time, as I was finally tall enough to go on a ride called the Eagle's Claw, which spins around in a massive circle. So we were on our way home after losing all feeling in my legs, and we had to go a roundabout which cut off to 4 roads. We had to go around twice because it was that busy. On the second time around, a small grayish Mini pulled up and charged head first into this cluster mess of tired people wanting to get home. It was about 7:30 because we went out for dinner. This woman pulled into the fray about an inch from my grand's dark blue car. So we get to the road we need to go up when suddenly the car in front of us screeched to a stop and this crazy looking woman steps out in bright red heels and walks over towards our car. Entitled Mom. What the heck are you doing? That was very dangerous. You should have waited for me to go forwards. Granddad. It's up. Grandma. Granddad, dear. OP and his brother are in here. Granddad, breathing slowly. It's a blooming roundabout. We wouldn't be able to stop to let you in. You flew in front of us, you crazy bent. I think he and Gran didn't know I knew what they meant. Entitled Mom. I don't care, you useless overweight piece of crap. For description, my grandfather is about 5'8", mutton chopped and balding on the top. Now he may look like a taller Danny DeVito with the mustache and getting a bit of a beer belly in his old age, but if given the chance, he would probably be ready to chuck this Sigourney Weaver-looking jerk in front of an oncoming 16-wheeler. The entitled mom starts walking back to her car, and as a joke, I hope for her sake, my granddad floored it and just barely missed her. And I swear to whatever God, that crazy moving stick with heels and a coat follows. Her little 7-ish kid in the back lifted his middle plum-sized finger to flip us off. Entitled golfer blocks my way to go home while screaming at me to go home. This happened a while back when I had foot surgery. I live on a golf course, and there is a path that golfers use to get to different holes, like every golf course. Part of the path is 20 feet from my house. My friend was coming back from the gym, which is approximately 500 feet from my house. She was coming over for a visit. There are 2 paths, and one goes the opposite direction, so she chose the wrong one. She called me saying she was lost, so I decided to come outside to see where she was and meet her halfway on the path to my house, since I was on crutches at the time. So she finally sees me and comes to me. We both made sure we were out of the way of any golf carts that needed to get by. Demon Spawn starts angrily walking up to us, and here is how the conversation goes. Cast. We've got entitled golfer. We've got me, and we've got my friend. Entitled golfer. What the heck do you think you're doing walking on my golf course? I look at her like she must be confused. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not sure if you understand that this is the neighborhood golf course, and I'm allowed to walk here just as much as you are. Entitled golfer clearly sees that I have a boot and I am on crutches and looks at my friend. Entitled golfer. What were you doing wandering over there, being in the way of the other golfers? Friend. I was lost. I've never taken this way to her house before, and I wasn't in the way. The only golfers could easily drive past me. They didn't seem to mind that I was there. Entitled golfer looks at me and says, Well, you two need to go back to where you belong and get off the path, because you can't be here on my course. I roll my eyes and start hobbling on back to my house, which was clearly not the way she wanted me to go. Hey, I told you to get off the dang golf course. Lady, my house is literally right there. I point to it. It was not even 50 feet from where we were standing. No, you can't go that way. You have to walk all the way around the neighborhood. That would probably take 2 hours, especially since I'm already in pain and sweating from the heat. It was also quite a distance because my neighborhood is big. Then you just drive home, you little jerks. It will only take a minute or 2. I look at her like she's insane. You can clearly see that I can't drive because I just had a foot surgery. My friend. And my car is in the shop, so I don't have it with me. I walked here. Entitled golfer. Then call your dang parents. So me, being a smarty, pretend to call my dad, who is currently on base at Fort Belvoir. Of course he doesn't answer, because you can't have your phone on base. I leave a message and say, Hey Dad, I know you're currently doing PT with the other soldiers at Fort Belvoir, but I need you to come home so you can drive me home from the golf course that's behind our house. This lady won't let me walk 50 feet to our front door because I'm not allowed on her pathway. Okay, see you in about 2 hours. Thank you. Bye-bye. I look at entitled golfer and say, Okay, so he'll be here in about 2 hours. You're more than welcome to stay here with us until he comes. Entitled Golfer gives me this angry look. I'm just as angry. My foot was hurting and I felt like I was about to pass out. Some of y'all might ask, why didn't you just ignore her and keep walking? No, this jerk parked her golf cart in the way and stood in front of us, blocking our way back to my house. Entitled Golfer. Well, I'm not waiting here for 2 hours. That's ridiculous. Can't you see that? Her son is sweating from the heat. I need to take him home. So you understand why I'm trying to go home now. I need my medication as well. Entitled Golfer looks at my foot again to see I have a boot and it's bandaged up too. Entitled Golfer. I bet you're not even injured. You're just probably faking it for attention. Her kid tried pulling my crutch from me and says, Mommy, I want to play with the metal things. Why won't she let me? Me. Excuse me? You don't just get to assume crap about me. You don't even know me. And get your kid off me before I call the police. I started to try and walk around her, but it's hard walking in the mud and wet grass on crutches. She saw that I nearly fell. Okay, fine. Go home. But I never want to see your face again around here. Snaps a photo of me. If I see you again, I'm calling the police. Me. It's okay. I never want to see your ugly face again either. Go ahead, call the police. I have a right to be here since my family owns this property. At this point, I was in my backyard. I look at my friend and say, man, she is a nightmare, and she just laughs. To this day, I have never seen her by my house again. Next we've got, my feathery bodyguard gets revenge on entitled parent. So, I have 2 birds, a Major Mitchell's cockatoo and a crimson-bellied conure, as well as 2 dogs. My birds are harness trained, so I can safely take them outside. I normally walk my dogs together and then my birds, also separately, so normally I do 3 walks a day, weather permitting. Since it was a nice evening, I decided to take my birds, both of them out on a walk together, as I didn't feel like going on a 3rd walk. I normally walk them separately because they get jealous when one gets attention and not the other. My cockatoo is very skittish, and my conure is extremely chill on walks. This particular day, my conure was content to make a tent out of my hair once I put his flight suit, like a bird onesie and diaper all in one, and harness. My cockatoo was nervously excited, screaming, flapping, and talking away, happy to get outside, sitting on my hand, looking around at everything. Due to both of them being very attractive birds, I try to walk them when we hardly ever see anyone. My cockatoo hates everything and everyone with a passion, except me and my mom. Where I live in summer, it gets dark between 7 and 8:30 p.m., so it is easy to avoid people if I need, especially because I live in a quiet middle-class area with lots of families. So if I go at about 7 p.m. when most people eat, I won't usually see anyone. I am known in the area, and people usually respect my space when I have the birds. However, a lot of new properties have come on the market, so there are many new people around. I was walking back home from my usual bird walk route and walked down a huge flight of stairs. The sun was directly in my eyes, so I couldn't see the people at the bottom. My conure was sound asleep in my hair, and my cockatoo was looking around contently. When I got like 5/6 of the way down, I could see the family in the empty cement parking lot we have above the park. A man, 2 boys, about 5 and 7-ish, riding bikes, and a woman. I was wearing a hoodie with one of those huge oversized hoods, so I put my cockatoo on my other shoulder and pulled the hood up. We do this tons at home, and she likes it. I walk slightly angled so my cockatoo doesn't see the bikes, kids, or the man. Then I hear the words I always dread. Kid 2. Mommy, look, a bird. That lady has a bird. They couldn't see my conure in my hair. Kid 1. Pretty, pretty birdie. I smile and wave, but keep walking at the same time. At this stage, my conure has heard voices and wants eyes on any potential danger, so creeps up to under my chin on the collar of my hoodie. My conure is very protective of me and attacks anyone that he senses is not good/angry or is just a man. He just doesn't like men. My cockatoo does similarly, but doesn't bite, just screams bloody murder and lunges when they get close. I hear running footsteps and thinking it is one of the kids, walk slightly faster, hoping to discourage any interactions with them. This is when I hear the ahem. I keep walking. Then my cockatoo screams, and she had tapped the side of my hoodie my cockatoo was on. My cockatoo freaks the heck out, flapping to the ground screaming. My conure has moved down my arm to my forearm, nattering angrily as I pick up my cockatoo and start soothing her. I look around and see entitled Mom. Her kids are halfway between us and their dad, who promptly, thank heck, called them back. What the heck is wrong with you? I hiss, not wanting to spook my cockatoo further. My kids and I want to pet your birds, she says, pointing at my cockatoo. Look, lady, I take it you have never done this before, but birds are not dogs. They are extremely skittish and particular. Plus, my birds bite. So no. I have a kangaroo pouch on my hoodie just for cases where my cockatoo or my conure gets spooked and I slip her in. So I grab my conure that had puffed up and is swaying aggressively from side to side looking at entitled Mom. I put him on my shoulder, outside the hoodie, so he doesn't bite my ears. He does that when he gets mad sometimes, even if it's not at me. Bullcrap. They are wearing leads. They are obviously tame. She turns and goes to call out to the kids, I assume, but I cut her off. No, these birds are tame, but only to me. They will attack you. Leave me alone. I go to turn and the lady grabs my arm. This is when my conure had had enough. He was a small, fist-sized ball of furry. He lunged for her hand and bit down hard. Entitled Mom yelled. Luckily, my conure didn't hold on for long as she had yanked her hand away, one of her knuckles bleeding. Not much, but it was bleeding. Don't touch me or my animals. How dare you? You are going to hear from the police. Wait until I talk to your parents. I am a 22-year-old female, and I look about 16 to 17. I hate my baby face. Listen up, you disgusting human disease. I am 22. You won't be talking to my parents. But my cousin, the city I live in, city police lieutenant. Don't touch me or my animals again. I stormed off. I didn't want to see her expression or listen to any more BS. Safe to say, my birds and I will just be chilling outside in our backyard for a while. This isn't the first time I have encountered ignorant people when it comes to my birds or my dogs, but it was the most extreme. Next we've got entitled Mom trying to cut the queue at checkout counter by being an abusive and lying person. A little background. I work and live in Dubai, and most of the time I shop from Carrefour, close to my apartment in here. That's the closest thing to Walmart here. I've seen Carrefour in France as well. Since close to 90% of the people living here are expats who work and live here, evening hours in the supermarkets and malls can get pretty crowded. This happened 3 weeks back. So I was getting some groceries on a Sunday evening after work. The queue for cashier in the evening was pretty long. Fun fact, Sunday we work here in UAE. Weekends are Friday and Saturday. Since I'm living alone and I hardly cook, I had around 14 items, which was mostly the snacks I indulged my evenings on. So I was there getting close to the cashier. There was just another guy in front of me with a shopping cart full of stuff, and I was on my phone talking to a friend. Excuse me, mister. I heard someone talking to me to my left ear. I told my friend to hold and turned around. There was this entitled mom with a kid. Now, this kid is not an entitled kid by any means. She was too young to even say anything. I told my friend on the phone that I'll call later since it wasn't anything important. Me. Yes, ma'am? Entitled Mom. You mind if we go before you? We are in a hurry. And Entitled Mom looks 40, points at the basket in her kid's hand. It's a small basket with some chocolate and a coloring book. So I look at the 8 or 9 people behind me in the line, and no one seems to have a problem judging from their face. Me. Sure, no problem. You can go ahead. Now, Entitled Mom doesn't say thank you, which doesn't matter to me anyway. She cuts in the line. The guy currently at the checkout is swiping his card, and cashier is bagging the stuff. Entitled Mom suddenly turns around and waves her hand and starts yelling, "Entitled kid, come over here. Here!" Surprised as me, everyone in the checkout counter turned around only to see the entitled kid with a trolley full of stuff. Literally more than 100 different items for sure. Everyone in my line combined wouldn't have that much stuff to check out. Me. Excuse me, miss. I was under the impression that you had 2 or 3 items to check out, but this is a bit too much, and I can see no one in the line would approve that. Most of us have been waiting here for over 15 minutes. What are you saying? I was here before you. I was genuinely shocked. I was like, what? No, you weren't. I was a bit confused, like maybe she was there and told me to hold the place or something and I didn't notice because I was on the phone. Now, already a couple of people are having big trolleys on the checkout counter, which is pretty narrow. It's 2 lines in the middle and 2 checkout counters on both sides kind of set up. So entitled kid, about 14, comes by pushing the cart through the line in a forced manner. Like literally, he was not giving a darn and doing it by force. So there is one bald guy. He was on his phone all the time. I thought he didn't care or he didn't even notice the whole thing. But he had just happened to stop the cart by holding it when entitled kid was trying to squeeze it past him. Bald guy. You're not gonna cut the line. Not today. Entitled kid. Mom, this jerk is stopping me. Now the entitled mom storms past me and goes to the bald guy. Who the heck do you think you are? Bald guy. Look, these people are nice. Might let you get away with your BS. But I'm not gonna let it happen. And you need to teach your little jerk some manners. I was in the queue ahead, jerk. And don't you dare preach to me on parenting. No, you weren't. Ask that guy. Me. No, you weren't. You happened to trick us into thinking you got 2 items to cut the queue. Then you're being a really jerky person about it. This time, I was sure that she wasn't in the line before me by just looking at her face. It was literally the face of someone who thinks themselves as, I am so smart. The rest of these people are stupid, so I can get away with anything. Entitled mom. I was there before you, jerk. Weren't you staring at my butt, pretending to be on the phone all the time? Me. Now that's it. You're not gonna get on this queue, or any queue today, without waiting your turn, jerk. I would have stared at a pack of sour candy instead of her butt, and I hate those candies. I really wish that I could have come up with this line there at the moment. So we hold the queue and call the manager. To my surprise, everyone else was calm and supportive. And one guy actually said, like, maybe it would have been much quicker if we let her first. But let's wait and get this crazy woman sorted out. After a few minutes, the manager shows up. Manager. What's the problem? Entitled mom. I was on the queue first, and these 2 are not letting my kid through. Pointing at me and the bald guy. Another guy in the queue. BS. She was cutting the line, saying she had only 2 items, and her kid showed up later with a truckload. Manager just looks at everyone to see that they nod and confirm his words. Manager then asks the cashier, and she confirms the same. Entitled mom. These people are lying. Manager. It's safe to assume that you were cutting the queue. then assuming everyone else is lying, ma'am. So you have to step out of the queue and start in the end of any queue. BS. She turns to me. You little liar. And she tried to grab my phone. Maybe to break it? I don't know. I withdraw my phone and hand out of reflex. Manager. That's it. You are done in here. We don't want you in here anymore. Apparently, they can ban customers inside a store. So Entitled Mom was removed immediately by the security, and the manager apologized to everyone for the trouble. The whole thing took about 20 minutes of everyone's time, and that was it. And our final story of the day, entitled Parents Country Club Wannabes. A little backstory. My family and I are originally from New Jersey. My parents retired to Florida. I live in Texas for part of the year, and in Florida with them the other part of the year. The house in Florida is located inside a golf and country club villa association. There is a country club, and although living there automatically means you can apply for membership, you still have to pay for it to belong. The club has 2 pools, 2 golf courses, a bar, a restaurant, snack bar, driving range, gym, etc. So we do use the membership at the club. Last summer, we spent a majority of the days out at the pool. The family pool is the larger one, Olympic-sized with swimming lanes, up to 10 feet deep and heated. There's another one for adults, but it's not as deep and it's not heated. We prefer the larger pool because we like the deep end and we like to swim laps. The larger one also has a small covered area with 2 tables. We are very fair and like to protect ourselves from the sun. Now, during the summer it is usually pretty quiet because all of the snowbirds are back in the north. They are usually only in residence from the end of October until the beginning of April. So we usually enjoyed having the pool to ourselves or sharing with a couple of neighbors that we had made friends with. But then, about midsummer, the obnoxious family arrived. They were very obviously from Brooklyn. I know that accent anywhere. It was the entitled grandmother and grandfather, their entitled daughter, who appeared to be in her younger 30s, and her entitled devil spawn, about 6 to 7 I would guess. The irony is that his name actually means an angel. Now these people only had one volume, obnoxiously loud. They would scream at their kid from across the pool instead of getting up. They would just scream his name over and over while he kept misbehaving. They would yell at him to get out, and he would scream, "No!" from the middle of the pool. His mother would talk on her cell phone all the time, telling everyone just how important she is. And of course, she would threaten to call the devil spawn's father, who wasn't with her anymore. I think it was self-preservation on his part. These people thought the rules did not apply to them. They brought their own alcoholic beverages and food with them. The kid had large rafts in the water. The kid also jumped into the pool right onto people in the pool. He urinated into the pool. He vomited into the pool. They would throw their garbage over the pool fence. They would just be generally obnoxious to the point that people just started leaving the area. And now that brings us to the last interaction when I finally had enough. It was this past March. I guess the little devil spawn was on spring break. Mom and I decided to go to the pool and relax. We both had our books and looked forward to getting into the water. As soon as we got to our table, I realized that the entitled family was at the next table over. I told my mom we might not want to stay. She asked why, and I asked her if she recognized them. Then the mother screamed at the kid. Our cast. We've got me. We've got my mom. We've got devil spawn. We've got entitled grandmother, entitled grandfather, entitled mom, the snack bar employee, the board member, and my dad. Entitled mom. Spawn, get out of the pool. Spawn. No, I don't want to. Spawn, now. Entitled grandmother. Spawn. This goes on with all 3 of them yelling at him. Mom rolled her eyes at me, and I knew she remembered them now. So entitled mom gets up and decides to lay on a lounge chair on the deck between the pool and the table where entitled grandma and entitled grandpa sat. So now they are screaming back and forth at each other even louder. Spawn is splashing some other people who have tried to get into the pool to swim and has decided to try to climb on one of the older gentlemen that was in the deep end. Since it is the only pool that is heated, it's the only one that people can really use in March. It's still a little cool at night, and the water would be chilly. Little by little, between their yelling and Spawn being an absolute monster, people are getting sick of them and going to sit over at the other pool. I was trying to read my book, but their yelling was so bad that I couldn't even hear my mom talking to me right next to me. I read the same sentence 5 times and finally gave up. At that point, I stood up. I am leaving out the language they used as every other word. Me to my mom. That's it. I have had enough. I have read the same sentence 5 times and still don't know what was said. Plus, he has splashed me and my book several times. My mom, getting up as well. I know what you mean. This is ridiculous. Entitled Mom rolls over on her lounge chair and looks at me. So, you saying you got a problem with my kid? Me. Yes, but not as much as the problem I have with your general attitude and rudeness. All you do is scream at the top of your lungs at him instead of actually disciplining him, and you continue to allow him to wreck everyone's nice day at the pool. Plus, you are all so loud that we can't even talk to each other. Entitled Mom. How dare you try to tell me how to parent my kid? At this point, Entitled Grandma and Entitled Grandfather start in on us. Entitled Grandmother. If you have such a problem, you should go to the adults-only pool. That's what it's there for. I'm a board member, and we have every right to be here, enjoying ourselves in a family pool. You should just take your fat butt over there. Oh, this whale has no room to talk. Her butt actually blocks the sun. Entitled Grandfather. You can just get the heck out of here and mind your own business. So now, thoroughly ticked off, Mom and I went to the other pool, where we found everyone else they managed to chase off that day, close to 20 people. She had been telling them all that she was a board member and that she was going to have them kicked out. In our haste to leave, Mom had forgotten her towel on the chair, so we had the employee who was working the snack bar go get it for us. We told him everything that happened. When he went to get it, these people had taken it and thrown it over the fence onto the ground. We filed a complaint through him. They were not signed in on the pool log. When you enter the pool area, you're supposed to sign in on the log with your last name, address, and member number. They said he had other complaints about them that day, but nobody knew their names to report it. So when we got home, we got a hold of one of the board members. He and my dad see each other daily at the gym, and their lockers are right next to each other. We said that it wasn't right that a board member would be out there breaking the rules, but also bullying the other members. Come to find out, these people aren't even members, let alone on the board. Nobody has seen them this summer. Guess they were told you gotta pay that $500 per month if you want to be part of the club and use the pool. Good riddance. Entitled Mom thinks because I have a cart stuffed with generic, non-name brand items, I must have money to spare for her. Yep, met another one. This happened a few weeks back, beginning of the month. I had not initially thought to post it, but reading another post of a very similar, almost identical situation reminded me of it, and that it is the perfect fit. Little context, I live on a monthly income, so when I do my grocery shopping, I sort of bulk shop for the month. Not easy and not fun. Not to mention, I am making a lower middle class income. I'm a widowed mother with 2 sons, which makes for an incredibly tight budget. I do my primary shopping between 2 stores that sound similar to Walmart and Aldi. Why? Because they have decent products for very cheap. Cast as usual. We've got me. We've got Entitled Mom, aka Enormous Mooch. We've got the toddler in her cart. No interaction, just something Entitled Mom used as a prop. And we've got Very Nice Guy. Not part of the issue, but he witnessed it. I am at Walmart, having done my main shopping for the month. Lots of boxes of pasta, great value, cans of tomato sauce. Let's just say, for the lack of repeating, 90% of what I buy there is great value brand and other non-name affordable brands, unless otherwise stated. I will get the occasional name brand if on sale. I get different frozen vegetables, meatballs, sausages, etc. Some frozen meals. I get root beer, ginger ale, Sam's Cola. Again, why? 2-liter bottles cost 62 cents. And to be honest, I like it better than the name brands. I often get boxes of tea bags to make homemade iced tea. Again, it's cheaper. I also buy things with a long shelf life, or they can be frozen so they last the month. As I am finished, I head up and get into line. My cart is very full. In front of me, there's a woman. Not the typical Karen. She looked pretty normal, with a toddler in the child seat, her cart about half full. We were about third and fourth in the line. She eyed my cart more than once, and I won't lie, I eyed hers a few times, more or less noting some of the name brands she had and recalling a time when I actually had been in a financial position to afford such items, but also noting how much of a better position I might actually likely be in if I had learned to shop more frugally back before the loss of my husband, when the financial situation had been far better. In any case, I digress, shaking myself from my thoughts as we move up. The entitled mom ahead of me has her stuff on the belt. I place that barrier stick on it and begin placing my own groceries on it. When the cashier informs the woman of the total, I am half turned getting things from the cart when I get the dreaded tap on the shoulder almost immediately after her total was announced. Conversation begins as follows. Entitled mom: "Excuse me, can you spot me a bit to help me with this? It came to a lot more than I thought. The hubby has not worked as many hours, and money has been really tight, and we have a child to feed." She initially asked very nicely. Me, looking to her cart and back to her. "I'm sorry, I am on a very fixed budget. I really wish..." Cut off. Entitled mom huffs, all pleasantness is gone. Yes, that quick. "Come on, your cart is overflowing. Surely you can afford to spare a bit if you can buy all that." Me, sighing inwardly, and so not wanting to deal with this right now, and not wanting to drag this out. "Okay, I am gonna stop this right now. No, I cannot. And not that I owe you any explanation." She tried to cut me off, but I do not stop. "I live on a monthly income, and am on a very tight budget. I practically count every penny. I do not have the luxury of shopping weekly because it is a waste of gas, and so I shop for the month." She tries to cut me off again. Entitled mom, crumbling, but makes one last attempt, motioning to her toddler. "But we have a child." I cut her off. "And I am a widow, and have 2 sons to feed." I snap back, effectively and thankfully shutting her up. Her mouth snapped shut, and she turned around. I'm not sure if she was mad or mortified, but nothing more was said. She paid for her groceries and left. She had enough to pay the whole time. Guess she just jumped on the chance to get someone to pay. The cashier was just shaking her head as the woman moved away, not saying anything one way or the other. The man behind me in line was as well, while saying, "Wow, some people." And then very kindly, when my total was said, asked, "You got that okay?" I smiled and said, "Yes, thank you." Nice to know there are still awesome people out there. Next we've got, "I don't live here anymore, Mom. I'm not cleaning your house." I hope you include this on your YouTube video. It's a long one, and I'm sorry for that. I've had a colorful life when I lived in Louisiana, and much of that is because of my entitled mother. Don't get me wrong, she could be a blast and make life fun. But Lord, when she was going through one of her phases, watch out. She typically did things like getting my brother a chocolate cake with chocolate frosting and chocolate ice cream for his birthday. The problem? My brother detests chocolate. She knows this, and when we reminded her, the response? Yes, but I like chocolate. My brother used to sneak the pills Mom's doc had given her into her coffee, and she'd fall asleep. Anyway, the main story. Cast. We've got me, we've got hubby, we've got brother, and we've got mom. My mother was going through menopause and had decided to quit both smoking and red meat at the same time. She was a nightmare. By the end of the first week, we were trying to give her cigarettes stuffed with steak. By this time, I had moved out, gotten engaged, and had our son. One night, she calls and invites us both for dinner. I was instantly suspicious. My southern family don't like white people because of what they went through as kids, and my hubby is white. They don't like him, so when she sweetly asked him to come too, I smelled a rat, but agreed to go. The next night, we head over to her house, hungry and looking forward to Mama's great cooking. We never got that far. We're in the living room chatting when I asked about dinner. Mom. Well, I have a confession. I didn't ask you two here for dinner. Hubby. Why did you ask us over if we're not going to eat? Well, I have inspection on the apartment tomorrow. Me. What's that got to do with us? Starting to feel cold in my veins now. I need you two to get to work. Me, you, and hubby can get the front of the house and the kids' bedrooms. Me. Aw, heck. This is what you called us here for? What's the matter? I don't even live here anymore. Do I ask you to come help me clean my house? She got mad at that and started hollering and cussing at us. I told my guy to get up because we were leaving. We were halfway out when my brother said he had to go to work and asked for a ride. We said yes and went to wait in the car. Bro came out, said he had forgotten his tie when the devil got into me. I got paper and a pen from the glove compartment, told bro to wait, then wrote, Mom, take your pills and quit terrifying your family. Love, me. I gave bro the note and told him to give it to Mom and run like heck. He looked at me and I just grinned at him, then told hubby to start the car. He gave me a worried look as he revved the engine. Not even a minute later, brother, flying out of the house waving his tie. Start the dang car! Start the dang car! Mom comes stomping out after him, shrieking, Forget you! Forget you! Don't you ever come back! Don't call me! Don't write me! Forget you! Hubby gunned it and we peeled out of there, him chiding me while bro and I laughed like loons. Fast forward 2 days, I'm playing with my baby when the phone rings. Me. Hello? Mom, brightly. Hi, baby girl. Haven't heard from you in a while and was just wondering what is up with you. Me, not shocked at all. Mom, you said, and I respectfully quote, Forget you, forget you. I couldn't even finish. She burst out laughing and apologized, blamed it on the menopause, and said she was now taking her meds regularly. I occasionally teased her with it until she passed in '06. I still miss her, entitlement and all. Next we've got the most horrible entitled dad I've ever encountered. This happened this afternoon, and I am literally shaking with rage at the thought that anyone would be so horrible to their kids. Cast. We've got me. We've got entitled dad. We've got the security guard. We've got fiance and the nice kid. I was in Westfield today. For those who don't know or aren't from London, Westfield is a massive shopping center located in Stratford, London. We were sitting in Starbucks, drinking a well-earned coffee when a young boy runs in, looking really upset. I don't notice it at first, but my eagle-eyed fiance does. Fiance: do you think that boy looks lost, or is it just me? Yeah, that kid looks way too young to be here by himself. Where are his parents? Don't know. Give it 5 minutes, and if no one shows, then we can think about what to do next. 5 minutes passed, and the poor kid is just sitting in a chair looking miserable and really upset. Me and fiance get up and walk over to the kid. We smile at him and kneel down. Fiance: hiya, are you here with your mommy or daddy? Nice kid: my mommy told me that I'm not supposed to talk to strange people unless they know the password. Me: your mom sounds like a very smart person. Who are you allowed to talk to? Nice kid: my mommy said I should only talk to someone I know, or if they are wearing a uniform, or they know the password. Me: well, I don't know the password, but I do have a special badge in my pocket, and I'm sure your mom won't mind you talking to me. I reach into my pocket and take out my warrant card and open it up and show the ID and badge to the kid, and I let him hold it up close so he can see my name, picture, and the words police officer in red letters at the top. Me: that's me right there. I point at my photo. I'm a policeman. Would you be able to have a chat with me for a bit? My name is Jack, and this is Izzy. My fiance waves. Fiance: are you here with your mommy or daddy? Nice kid: my dad. He told me to wait on a bench, but that was a while ago. I don't know where he has gone. Me: do you know what the time was when your daddy told you to wait? The big hand was at 6 and the small one was on the 4. Fiance: so 4:30. The kid nods. I look at my watch and see the time is 17:45. An hour and 15 minutes this kid has been sitting on his own. I feel an anger burning inside me that someone would leave a kid on his own in a crowded shopping center for an hour and 15 minutes. Me: how old are you? Nice kid: I'm 9. How old are you? Fiance: we feel old now. She laughs. Me: how about I go and find someone who can help us contact your dad? Why don't you sit here with fiance and I'll go find someone who can help. I walk out of Starbucks and find a uniformed security guard standing by the exit. I take out my warrant card again and present it to him as I approach. Hey there, mate. Off-duty police. We've got a 9-year-old boy in Starbucks who can't locate his dad. It's now been nearly 90 minutes and still no sign. Security guard: okay, I'll call it into the security room. Although we haven't had a missing kid alert, and it's been 90 minutes, you say? Yeah, it's ridiculous. Me and security guard walk back towards the Starbucks, and we see nice kid and fiance sitting at the table. Nice kid is tapping numbers into fiance's phone. Fiance: he's trying to remember his dad's mobile number. So far, no luck. Suddenly, we hear a dialing tone coming from the phone. Nice kid: I remembered it. I pass the phone to the security guard. Security guard: what's your dad's name? Nice kid: Entitled Dad. Security guard: hello, Mr. Entitled Dad. I'm calling from Westfield Security. Your son has been wandering this building for a while now. Please, can you meet us at the security desk by the main entrance? We all leave and walk towards the security desk. Security guard pulls out a chair and the nice kid hops up. Fiance let him use her phone to play Angry Birds. Suddenly, this very large, muscular man comes running up to the security desk, shouting the kid's name. Entitled Dad: where the heck did you run off to, you stupid boy? I told you to sit and wait for me. Security guard: are you Mr. Entitled Dad? Yes. Now can you tell me why my son is sitting here when I left him playing in the Apple store? Security guard: that's at the other end of the building and 2 floors up. Where were you? None of your business. Now I'm leaving with my son. Security guard. I need to see some identification. It's purely protocol. Entitled dad grumbles and hands over driver's license. See, he's my son and I'm his father. We're leaving now. Me. Not so fast, mate. I'm a police officer. Show my ID. I was the one who found your son. Now I'm going to allow you to leave, but I'm going to have to make a note of your name and address. Security guard hands me the guy's license and I take a picture on my phone. I then pass it back to Entitled Dad. Entitled Dad. Why the heck did you take a picture of that? Delete it, now! Me. Because I will be contacting social services and the police safeguarding team. They, in turn, will want to speak with you, and they will also contact the boy's mother. You can't just abandon a kid for 90 minutes while you're off doing God knows what. Both me and security guard have both a duty and an obligation to report this incident to the relevant people. It was an honest mistake, officer. I just lost track of time. You don't need to report it, do you? I may never get to see my son again. Me and my wife are going through a nasty divorce. If the police come knocking, it'll just be giving her more ammunition to take my kid away from me. Me. I would love to comment on your crappy style of parenting, but I don't want to lose my cool in a public place, especially not in front of a kid. Now both of you leave, before I say something I'll regret later on. I turn to Nice Kid who smiles at me. Hey kid, this is for you. I pull a business card out of my wallet and pass it to him, along with a folded 5-pound note. That's my work number. You can use it in an emergency to reach me. You can dial it from any phone and it won't show up on any phone bills. Also, you can buy yourself some sweets or something later on. Nice Kid grinned at me and then said something that honestly made me want to cry. Nice Kid. I wish my daddy was like you. Entitled Dad and Nice Kid left, and security guard shook my hand and headed off. I wrapped my arm around fiancé and headed back for another coffee. And our final story of the day. My entitled mother wanted me to cancel my picnic because she scheduled something the same day. Hey, Mr. Reddit, I'm so glad you enjoyed my last entitled parent story. I have another one for you today, and this time it involves my entitled mother. Now, my mother has always had an entitled side to her, especially when it comes to my younger brother and I versus my older brother, since younger brother and I are adopted and older brother isn't. But that's not important to this particular story. But if you want some examples, I can give some in the future. Alright, so my family has always been a Christian family. I was in church until I was about 13, then I stopped going. Not for any particular reason, I just stopped going. I hadn't gone back until a few years ago, and even then, it wasn't until very recently that I started attending regularly. I'm 23 now. I should mention that my family and I are at 2 different churches. I go to a smaller one with my best friend, and they go to one on the bigger side, on basically the other side of town. Like I said, it has been this way for a while now. Now, for the past 2 years, my friend and I have organized a summer picnic at the church for the beginning of June, as a way to celebrate the start of summer. It's always a lot of fun, with games and food and everything in between, and the people at church really seem to enjoy it. 2018 was the first year we had one. It was a luau theme and we went all out, even going as far to get leis for everyone. 2019 was a carnival theme, complete with a bouncy house and circus-themed rubber duckies. Both years, I invited my family to join. They didn't come either year, which honestly doesn't bother me. It's the reason why they didn't come the second year that annoys me, and the reason why I see my mom as an entitled mother. On to our cast. Pretty short and simple. We have me, Cool Panda, and my mom, entitled mother. So it's worth mentioning that my friend and I start planning these picnics basically right after the other one finishes, and we set the date for it a good month or 2 in advance, so people have time to get time off if they need to. So my mom knew well in advance what day and what time our picnic would be. She even went as far as to say that they would be there. And I kept asking repeatedly because we're always really proud of our work with the picnic, and I want my family to see them. Each time I asked, she said they would go. Then this happened. Oh, side note. Anytime we have an event at my church, I make the poster for the announcement. So anything like a party or our picnic, I make the flyer, and I really enjoy doing it. But my mom takes advantage of that and has me make the flyers for her church. So one day I get a message from her through Facebook asking me to make a flyer for an event they were having at the church. They were having a state trooper come in and go over what to do in case of an emergency, which is a concern in today's world, but isn't something she had to do. I wish I still had the conversation on my phone, but unfortunately I don't. But it basically went as follows. Entitled Mom. OP, can you make me a sign-up sheet? Me, annoyed but compliant. I guess so. Okay, it's for an active emergency seminar. Okay, what day and time? June 1st at 3 p.m. Me, June 1st is the day of the picnic. I know. You said you would go. I kept reminding you. I know, but it's the only day the trooper can come in. Maybe we can come for a little bit? Mom, the picnic starts at 1. Your thing is at 3. And half of the people from your church live like 30 minutes from my church. You wouldn't actually be able to come and do anything. I can't change the date. Fine, whatever. So I made the sign-up sheet and sent it to her. I was annoyed, but what could I do about it? Whatever, she didn't want to come and didn't have to. Then this happened, and it still makes me disgusted, even months later. Entitled Mom. Are you sure you don't want to come? No, it's the same day as the picnic. Maybe your pastor would like to come. Can you change the date of the picnic so he can come? Seriously? You're kidding, right? No. Cancel the picnic so he can come. I'm not going to do that. The picnic has been scheduled long before your event, and you knew that date and the time for months. Scheduling something on the same date when you already agreed to come is low enough. But you actually have the audacity to ask me to cancel my picnic at my church so that my pastor can go to your event at your church? I just thought it would be nice. No. Then I just stopped messaging. I stopped talking to her, and I haven't forgiven her for this. She's always done things like this, and this was my breaking point. Sorry if this was long, but I tend to ramble. Let me control your relationship. Longtime lurker. Finally decided to post part 1 of the only story I have that fits here. I hope my phone format's right, so sorry if that's irritating. Some background. Fiance, then 21, female, and I, then 25, male. We're just starting to date, and she comes from a super strict family. I mean borderline cult. Father is compared to God. Questioning him is like giving yourself to the devil type deal. No cast intros, you're smart people. Fiance and I go to classes together for like 4 years, both in strong denial of feelings for each other. Her family moves across the nation, US of awesome, and I figure we're never gonna see each other again. We reconnect over a year later and realize feelings never died. She makes the first move and we start dating. All great. 6 months in, we plan a trip for me to visit her for 2 weeks and stay at her place, which she is renting from entitled parents. After plans are set, tickets are paid, and all is green, I get a message. Entitled Dad. Unsolid. I know things work differently in your family, but I expect that you will respect our traditions when you're visiting. I want you to ask my permission before dating my daughter, and I expect that you'll be staying with the rest of us in a house across the city. Me, wanting desperately to be respectful but equal. Well, We did already make our plans and arrangements. There's a place she set up in a separate room from hers. I find that unacceptable. If you're going to sleep in that house, then you'll have to share a room with my son, who's 23. Me. If you don't mind, I would really rather talk this out in person when I'm there in a few weeks so that we don't assume any tones. No messages back after that. But when I got there, I did eventually bring it up, and the three of us went outside to talk about it all. By then, fiancé had told me about his intentions to take that as my consent to give him control of our relationship, including whether or not we dated at all. I still wanted to be respectful, so I went with what I decided was a good compromise. Entitled Dad. Okay, I'm waiting for you to ask. Me. Okay, I want you to know, I'm not asking your permission out of the same respect you ask of me, sir. Please understand, if I ask for your permission and you refuse, I have no intention of breaking up with my fiancé over that. So to me, it's disrespectful and insulting to ask your permission for something I don't intend on listening to in the first place. However, because I do respect you, I will ask for your blessing and hope that you're okay with us dating. What? No, you don't understand. I'm not asking for you to break up with her. I just want you to submit to me in the decisions you make as a couple, and especially while staying in my house. I'm sorry, sir, but that's not happening. I don't even submit to my dad. I'm not about to start with someone else's. And fiancé is renting that house from you with regular agreement on payments. Fiancé, we talked about this already. We deserve to be the ones making our choices. Entitled Dad, completely ignoring fiancé. You should have asked me before staying in my house with her. I'd rather you were sleeping here and visiting her for a couple of hours after work a few times a week. I'm not asking you to do anything difficult. Just defer to me when making choices in your relationship together. Me. I'm sorry? I paid out of pocket to be here for her birthday. I like you and all, and I'm glad to visit with her, but I'm here to spend this time with her in the end. I'm not giving that kind of control to anyone. How would your father feel if he heard you saying things like this? He would be happy. He raised his children to be strong and think for themselves. Well, I don't think you understand. I don't necessarily want your submission. I just want fiancé to make the choices I tell her to regarding your relationship. Well, that isn't happening either. You both talked about it already, and she said no. And frankly, I don't want that either. For us to have a healthy relationship, she has to act on her choices. That would be acting on yours. Entitled Dad, turning red. I don't think you understand. If you deny me this, there will be consequences that extend beyond you two. Me. I'm sorry, but the answer is no. Your advice and input is still welcome, and we'll consider it when you give it. But ultimately, all choice in our relationship is ours. I'm here to make a healthy relationship with fiancé, not a relationship with you through her. I see. I want you to think carefully before committing to this. Fiancé. We did, separately and together. We're a team, so we need to act like one. We can't be a team if someone else is controlling what we do. After that, we went inside. Part 2 if people ask for it, as this has gotten long. I'll wrap up part 1 by telling you that after that talk and my visit was finished, he had begun telling her siblings and all of her extended family what a horrible person I was, that I'm selfish and possibly abusive to my fiancé, and that I'm corrupting their little girl, and I convinced her into hating them and abandoning them, while also cutting her off from most of her contact with any of her siblings. Every time I meet another family member, it's all questions about how I treat her. Do I believe she should respect her parents, etc.? Up until then, I had a lot of respect for him and liked him quite a bit, and persisted to try to keep that until part 2 happened much more recently. Let me control your relationship, part 2. Context. At this point, fiance and I, now 22 and 26, had gotten engaged and have everything needed set for the wedding. We're saving up for the final payments, and after a long talk, I managed to convince her to let me try to mend things with her parents. It's a wedding. Who deserves to miss their own child's wedding, right? So she agrees to let me message entitled Dad and ask his blessing again, as a way to test the waters. If he refuses, she's pretty confident he'll do something to ruin the day and doesn't want him there. After that fails, astonishingly, I'll say, he copies our entire conversation and emails it to every family member and her. The family all gets this with a message about how horrible I am and how I've guided fiancé into hating her parents. I'll add that he didn't send them the screenshot of me getting her to say I could stream it if they said they'd watch. I even cut the screen off so he didn't see the things she said about him. Next time, I might let him see. To fiancé, entitled Dad sends the same conversation with the following. Fiancé, do you agree with the attitude Unsolid has taken towards me? Very sad. After that, I've heard from 2 of her siblings and 1 of her aunts that I'm treating him very badly, and I shouldn't be keeping his daughter from him. They also all insist on saying we're living in sin, and even her sister, who used to be one of my best friends, now treats me like an invader. They also all treat fiancé as a brainwashed no-brain that can't think for herself. She's been reduced to not being allowed more than letters to her siblings. Aside from the 2 of the 3 that are 18 or older, the oldest is mini entitled Dad and keeps as distant as entitled Dad does. We decided we want to invite her siblings still, and any family members of hers who manage to show even a little support, or at least are understanding enough to not immediately assume we're bad people for wanting to control our own lives. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I'm glad to see people ridiculing him, and my fiancé is sitting at home reading the comments, giggling like a madwoman. So, extra thanks for that. She gets so much flack from her siblings, she sometimes starts to think she's the crazy one for not caving to him. Next we've got, entitled Karen flushed my epilepsy meds, gets jail time. Hey Mr. Reddit, my wife just told me she would love to listen to her story with your lovely voice. This is the story, after 3 rewritings just for you. Background. In my country, we have mandatory military service for both men and women. In my wife's case, she could have skipped it because of a medical condition. She has epilepsy, but she chose to serve. This story happened during her service. Our cast. We've got the direct commanding officer. We've got the idiot serving with my wife, the Karen. And we've got my wife. The story occurs when OP and Karen served in the same office under DO. Karen and OP also bunked in the same barracks, relative later, with 2 other women serving under a different division. In the beginning, there were no problems in the office with Karen until one day OP forgot to take her evening meds with her to work. The cluster mess transpired as follows. OP. Commander, may I leave early? I forgot my meds and I need to take them in an hour. DO. You can leave in half an hour. Context. The distance to the female barracks is 20 to 30 minutes away, depending on walking pace. The DO knew that the meds slowed OP's motor skills, so it took longer for her to get there. OP. Thank you. Karen interrupted. Hey, that's not fair. Why can she leave early? OP. I need my meds. Karen. You're lying. You just want to leave me here with all the work. The only work left was cleaning the office. No, I'm not. I have epilepsy. I need my meds to prevent seizures. No, you don't. You are just faking to get high. High? Are you out of your mind? My meds suppress the brain. I don't get high. It makes me function a bit slower. Karen, being a big dum-dum, continued to complain to DO that OP was lazy and was slow on purpose. See? She's doing it again. using the same lame excuse so she can just stay in bed, get high, and watch movies all day long. Dio, that's enough. Karen, stop harassing OP and get back to work before I suspend your weekend leave again. OP, leave now and don't forget the meds next time or you will be in trouble. Context: every 21 days you get a weekend at home. Karen had been threatened with and received this punishment before for doing and or saying something stupid. OP and Karen both respond, "Yes, sir." OP returned to the barracks. The following morning, OP arose for the AM raising of the flag routine. This is mandatory for every soldier to be checked in and represented at 7 a.m. While getting ready, OP can't find her meds. OP addressing the 3 other women in the barracks. "Where are my meds?" Karen with a wide malicious expression. "I flushed them down the toilet. Now you can't get high and have to be normal like all of us." OP with a shocked expression. "You did what? You idiot! I need them. It takes 3 days for my meds to arrive at the base clinic. I can't go that long without them. I'll have a seizure." "No, you won't. You're just a junkie." They stop arguing because they need to get outside for the lifting of the flag. OP arrived late at the office. Dio, "OP, why are you late?" OP, "I was looking for spare meds because Karen flushed my meds down the toilet." Dio, angry and panicked. "Karen, get your butt in here right now." Karen with a please expression. "What do you want?" Dio, still angry and with a commanding expression. "First of all, it is Dio, sir, to you. Second, are you out of your mind? Why in the world would you flush OP's meds? She can't function without them." Karen with the most Karen voice. "Yes, she can. She's just faking it. She's a junkie. I just helped her to get rid of her addiction." OP with angry tears in her eyes. "Addiction? You moron! The pills prevent the seizures." Karen condescendingly. "You will see, she is just a junkie." OP with prominent blood vessel pulsing on her forehead and a ghost white complexion. "I don't feel so good. Dio, I need to lay down. I feel a seizure coming right now." Context: the preventative measures of the meds wear off quickly when a patient is in distress, such as an emotion like anger. Karen, "Oh no you don't. Stand up." Karen proceeded to lift OP off the floor. "See? She is just faking it. Just look at her." At that moment, OP had a grand mal seizure, fell to the floor, and broke her front teeth. Dio screamed at Karen to get the heck out of the room. Karen continued to proclaim that OP was faking and was all for show. Dio called the paramedics. They, in turn, took OP to the hospital for medical treatment. OP had to stay in the hospital for 3 days of observation and a further 2 weeks at home to rest. Karen received a court-martial and 2 weeks of military jail time. It turned into a 3-month sentence as her urine test showed green in her sample. Justly deserved. Next we've got, Karen thinks my tattoo is too offensive. Hey Mr. Reddit and the Re-Army. Dark back again with another entitled parent story, this time not from my old job, now as I've started college. Little bit of background on the tattoo. I had gotten it as a way to remember an uncle who was like a dad to me, and basically got the Assassin's Creed logo with his name in it as a way of saying he's forever part of my family. I'll put a link to the photo of the tattoo at the bottom. Cast. We've got me, a chill guy trying to enjoy the sunshine. And we've got Karen. Let's begin. It was a roasting hot summer day, which is a rare thing where I am from, but friend and I were out in our city's park trying to enjoy the sunshine and enjoying a few cold ones that I had brought with me, and I had taken off my shirt to get a tan on me. It worked somehow. And once I got cozy and was about to take a sip of my drink, friend and I hear this very loud gasp and immediately both thought, oh great, Here we go. Karen, loud enough gasp to be heard over the city. Cover up that tattoo. It's very offensive, and it shouldn't be seen by anyone. Me, confused on how my tattoo is offensive and shouldn't be seen by anyone. How is my tattoo offensive in any way possible and shouldn't be seen by anyone? It's part of a group, and you are probably trying to get people to join it. To be honest, I was dumbfounded by this and looked at my friend, and she was as confused as I was. Friend. His tattoo is from a game that he enjoys, and the symbol itself means family. So how could it be related to a group? No, it's not. I know about games, and that's not from a game. Clearly, she doesn't know about the Assassin's Creed franchise, and shouldn't be shown anywhere. Me, absolutely not dealing with Karen anymore. 1, it's a memorial to a family member who means a lot to me. 2, don't ever, I mean ever, disrespect a tattoo that could mean a lot to someone. And finally, it's not from a group. It's from a gaming franchise that the symbol itself means family or creed. Karen, visibly shocked that someone stood up to her for once in her life. Well, Me, don't say another word and leave. After that, she went off somewhere else and left me and friend alone. After that, we got to enjoy the sun while it was there, and even some people walked by and saw it and actually asked questions on it, which was nice. And our final story of the day, entitled Kid Decides to Scream at Teachers Over Pretty Much Everything. Background. I have just started my GCSE year at school, and I've had the unfortunate pleasure of meeting a boy 2 years younger than me, and he is the most entitled kid I've ever met, and I'm the oldest of 6. I've heard some of the stories from my friends, but some I've seen myself. Firstly, a few days ago, my friend was in the school's pastoral office, and he was having an anxiety attack. I don't know the details, don't ask, and the teachers are trying to calm her down. However, in comes entitled kid, screaming and crying. The teachers approach him to ask what's wrong, and he sits down to explain. Dialogue is paraphrased, as I wasn't there for this incident. Now for the cast. We've got entitled kid, teacher 1, teacher 2, friend, okay, the other kid, not directly involved but mentioned. Entitled kid. I'm being bullied, sir. Teacher. What lesson have you come here from? English with Miss Teacher. What happened, entitled kid? We were talking about our work on my table, and I told the other kid I was a Pokemon master, and he said I wasn't. He began to scream louder. Do bear in mind, he is at least 12 years old. The teachers basically told him they had more important things to deal with, and he stormed out, crying louder. He also had an incident in our inclusion room, where you are kept if you are ill during the school day. He and another friend were playing a civilized game of Uno, but the moment entitled kid lost, he began to scream. I swear I could hear the screaming from 2 floors above over the noise of my English class. The last incident I was there for. In our school, we have 2 buildings, East and West, and thus 2 libraries. Me and a group of friends always sit around in West Library as no one uses it. It doesn't have computers, so it's no good for homework unless you have a worksheet. So there we are, sat in the library when one of the special needs teachers comes in. At the time, we have been doing up the library to be a Doctor Who theme. East has a Harry Potter theme. There are some more cast members now. We've got the librarian, we've got me, friend 2, and the special needs teacher. Teacher. Do you mind if I tell another boy about your Doctor Who club? We are all confused, as it's just a Doctor Who theme, not a club. Librarian. Sure. Teacher. Thanks. About 10 minutes later, in comes entitled kid. Hello, is this the Doctor Who club? Friend 2. No, this is West Library, but there's some Doctor Who books over there. She gestures to the bookshelf of Doctor Who content. Entitled kid. But sir said this was a club. Me. No, we've just been decorating and reorganizing. Of course, this sets him off, He begins to scream and squeal at me and my friends, as well as the teacher, all while kicking people's bags and pulling books off of the shelves. Librarian: please leave. The other students here are trying to read. We weren't, but pretended to when teachers stopped by. No! Friend: well, there's always the naughty corner. There's a gap between the bookshelves just big enough for a person to fit into. Me. Or the naughty step. Outside the room, there's a set of stairs. He begins to wail and scream at specifically me and my friend at this point about how we were bullying him and how he was a good boy. I was losing my rag at this point, and my friends know that I don't like shouting or confrontation of any kind. Friend 2: don't. I stand up. I am about twice the height of this kid, and he suddenly realizes this. Me: I am sick and tired of your squeaky voice, and of you screaming at me and my mates. You have been asked to leave and have refused. You have thrown books off shelves and potentially damaged the contents of my friends' bags. You have been the most entitled, spoiled little rat I have ever met, and you are going to get out before I get the head teacher. He is cowering in fear, and he picks up his stuff and runs away crying. He never told the teacher about this, but honestly, half of them don't take him seriously anyway, and my record is good, so they won't believe him. I did feel like a bully, but my friends and the librarian reassured me that they would back me up if anything happened. Apparently, he's trying to move schools, but nothing's confirmed. Actor picks the wrong sound crew to mess with. Here's another little tale from my days working in the entertainment business. Very early on in my career, I managed to get a gig working as a showman, a person hired in just to work on the show, on stage electrics, and follow spots on a major West End musical. Even though I was nominally a sound engineer, the chance to work on a big show in albeit a different capacity was too good to pass up. When you're a youngster in this industry, you would be daft to turn down such an opportunity because the experience garnered is invaluable, even if it's not directly related to your primary skill set. We spent around 6 weeks working on the production fit-up. Most of the time, I was working on rigging lamps, running cables, installing additional dimmer racks, yada yada. Sometimes I got to help out the sound crew rigging their kit, and thus got to know them quite well. Fast forward to a few months after opening night. Some of the electric showmen, myself included, had managed to pick up the occasional extra work assisting the daymen, crew who were permanently hired to the theater, doing lamp rounds. This is where you go around the entire theater, front and backstage, replacing burned out lamps. Useful extra money. Thus, I happened to be in the theater well before the half-hour call and was hanging out with the sound crew at the sound desk. There were 2 of them. We'll call them Pete and Chris. One would run the FOH board for that night's show, while the other would do other jobs like handing out the radio mics to the cast at the half, collect them at the end, and troubleshoot any problems during the show. They had also swapped duties every day. So we hear the half called, and Chris goes off backstage with his box of radio mics to hand them out, while I carry on chatting to Pete. About 10 minutes later, we see Chris returning to the FOH desk looking very distressed. Pete asked him what on earth was wrong. It transpired that the male juvenile lead had bollocked out Chris for some utterly trivial problem to the point where he had been reduced to tears. I should point out that this particular actor was not well liked by the crew because of his arrogant and holier-than-thou attitude. This seriously did not sit well with Pete at all. By this time, the audience was beginning to fill the auditorium, and you could hear the ambient chatter level going up. Pete then grabbed his headphones and, parking one earpiece over his right ear, proceeded to punch in the pre-fade listen button for that actor's channel. A grin then crept over his face. He then brought the channel live and very slowly raised the channel fader. He handed Chris the cans, and a huge grin also spread across his face. Chris then handed me the cans so I could hear what had amused him so much. I listened in, to be confronted by the sound of the actor right in the middle of taking a full throttle dump. We are talking grunts and groans, and levels of flatulence quite the equal of the trumpets that flattened the walls of Jericho. Bear in mind that this sound is now being leaked out into the auditorium, albeit at a level just barely perceptible to the audience. I glanced around at the punters in the stalls and saw that quite a few people were looking around quizzically. I had to struggle to rein in my laughter at the delicious payback, but as it was getting close to Act 1 Beginners, I had to go off and take my station. So I high-fived my friends and went through the stage pass door to the electrics crew room to be confronted by my colleagues falling about in hysterics. It was then that I became aware of a peculiarity with the show relay. For context, the show relay is a microphone, front of house, and a bunch of speakers all over the backstage and dressing room areas that allow cast and crew to listen in to the progress of a show. Due to a curiosity of its design, what was just barely audible out front was now being hugely magnified backstage. The entire cast and crew, no matter where they were being subjected to the sounds of our actor dropping the kids off at the pool at practically full volume. For the rest of the show, the hapless idiot had to contend with the entire cast and crew giggling uncontrollably whenever he went past, and all the while remained completely oblivious to the reason why, as the one place there were no show relay speakers was in the toilets. Next we've got, I'm not paying a finder's fee for stolen property. Thief earns himself a felony instead. I had just moved to a new city for work and had been working there for about 3 months, so I'm still pretty new to the area. My apartment complex, I would say, is in a nicer part of the city and is pretty well kept, so I didn't really expect anyone to go and try breaking into cars. I was set to travel and had a pretty early drive, so I had packed everything for my week-long trip the night before so that I could get up and just get on the road. The next morning, I walk out to my car, and I see clothes off to the side of my car, and thinking it was weird, started to look around the car. Turns out, my car had been broken into and was cleaned out. Out of the trunk, they took my laptop bag, which had both my personal computer and a government computer, 2 gym bags, one that had my work clothes and the other had my workout clothes and personal hygiene stuff, and a backpack that had my Nintendo Switch and office supplies in it. They also took $50 out of the console where I kept change and random bills for parking. This obviously throws a wrench into my work travel, so I call my supervisor and explain the situation and come back into work. It's my fault. I left all that stuff in my car, so I had to go to our security/IT office and explain what had happened and see what the next steps were to get a new work computer. During this meeting with the physical security manager, which was 3 hours after I found my car broken into, I get a call from a local number, and turns out that this guy had found my laptops on the side of the road when he was coming home from visiting his mom. My bag had a "contact me if found" phone number. Conversation goes as follows. Guy: "Hey man, I found your laptops on the side of the road. I figured you would want them back. They look pretty important." Government laptops are plastered with stickers with official jargon and returning instructions. Me: "For sure. I am currently at work now, but I can come meet you or whatever works." "Yeah, man. I'm just coming back from visiting my mom, so I'm trying to get home so I can relax." "Cool. I can make it work. Can you text me your address and everything so I can just come to you?" "I'll send it to you here in a second. It's also my birthday, so if I could get some money for like a finder's fee or whatever, I think that would be cool." "Yeah, man. Whatever you need." See you in a bit." As soon as I get off the phone, I call the local police in that area and explain that this guy is trying to extort money from me to get stolen goods back. They instruct me to meet them a few blocks away from the residence, and they will send a plainclothes cop and officers to act on my behalf, so I am not in direct contact with the guy, just in case, since the situation sounds sketchy. I go and meet them where they go to the residence. The guy is hesitant seeing the cop cars and takes a few minutes to return the bag, with the laptops in it. They bring the bag to me to identify the laptops, and everything's still there. I accept the bag and got my laptops and bag back. Easy enough. On the drive back to work, no more than 15 minutes later, this guy still had my number and starts going off. Bad, unreadable spelling, and all is seething through text messages on how I could get the police involved. He was trying to be a good Samaritan, and he should have thrown my stuff in the grab bag. So I did the normal thing and blocked the number. Now, I'm still missing everything else, including the Nintendo Switch, which was in a case with 7 games. Important. I was originally going to take the loss on it and take it as a stupidity tax, since it was almost impossible to get back. However, something didn't sit right with me with this guy, and thinking if he did have it, he was going to try to sell it fast and cheap. I went onto Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, searching for a Switch for cheap around the same location as his house. Bingo! The ad read, $200 Nintendo Switch with 7 games and case lightly used, no charger or dock. Must be gone today. The location was enabled and was within 2 miles of his address. The phone number was the same, and the dock and charger were in my apartment. So I had a buddy of mine who lived in the next city over contact him, asking if he could hold on to it till tomorrow since he wouldn't be in town until the next day and would pay him $300 instead. The dude agrees and also gets him to read off all 7 games that were there. This was to buy us more time so I can go coordinate with the police. The next morning, I get everything together to go make a case to police to assist me with this. Police report, the Craigslist ad, the serial number from Nintendo, the screenshots of the text messages between him and my buddy. I make my case, and the police agree to do the same thing as the day before and meet me somewhere else to go over what the plan was. I meet them and go over his address and what all I had missing. These are different officers than the day before, and they recognize the address and the home. We found out this guy is known for this stuff and is currently on probation. So we come up with a plan where my buddy will call us on his work phone so we can hear the conversation and call him on his regular phone to see what's going on. The police use a plain car, go to this meetup spot, and acting like my buddy, scoop the guy up and get him to cough up the rest of the stolen goods. They were able to recover all my items, including all my clothes and bags. He ends up going to jail and earns a new felony on his record for receiving stolen property. I think I would have lost the rest of it if I didn't do the digging on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Next we've got owner fires me, gets sweet, sweet karma. Editor's note: I did not realize this story would be a long one, so this will be part 1 of 2. Hey guys, first time poster here. I'm also on mobile and writing this on the spot, so please don't get too violent with me. Anyways, here's the tale of an evil restaurant owner that gets what's been coming to her. Late last year, I started working at a hole-in-the-wall restaurant in the mountains of southern Appalachia. Finding this job was a blessing, as it was a well-paying job due to the location it was in, next to a state forest, and the clientele that ate there. The restaurant was small, inviting, and surprisingly fairly fancy for the location. Tables were custom-made by the GM's husband, landscaping was done by the owner's husband, and the cooks were some of the best I've ever seen. We were situated in between 2 high-class communities that had residents that were more than generous. When I walked in for the interview, I was basically hired on the spot due to my background in the service industry, and I would be starting the next morning at 7 a.m. Everybody there seemed to get along well and welcomed me into their family with warm hearts and open arms. Now, let's get to the cast. We've got me. We've got FOH Manager. We've got General Manager. We've got Cool Worker 1, Cool Worker 2, and last but not least, the owner. I shall refer to her as Lucifer, a play on her name and the nickname I gave to her. A few months passed as we were getting out of our busy season, which were the fall and winter months. Our area takes in a lot of tourists and non-locals who visit the mountains on summer break who want to be close with nature. Since summer came to an end, we were about to lose some business, so we had to make some cuts to staff. Thankfully, owner wanted to keep me around since me and FOH Manager basically carried the weight of that place on our backs, but wanted to lay off Cool Worker 2. I never really understood why FOH Manager and General Manager were fearful and reluctant of owner's business practices. I thought owner was actually a pretty cool lady until the day she gathered us all up for a meeting on the back patio of the restaurant. Owner sat down and began with a smirk on her face. "Due to the coming months, we will be losing business. I can only handle a few servers, so I will be making cuts. Me and General Manager have decided that Cool Worker 2 will be laid off until the warm season starts again." Surprisingly, Cool Worker 2 was okay with this, as she had a side gig working as a therapist. "All right, owner, just let me know when you want me to come back. I'll be in touch." Cool Worker 2 wasn't the most competent of servers, as she was kinda gray and couldn't handle the stress thrown at her sometimes. She has a heart of gold, and I love her to death, but I understood why owner wanted to lay her off. So I acted cool about the whole situation, even though I was melancholy on the inside about losing a close coworker. Everything was smooth sailing after that, until the holidays came around. It was a week before Christmas, and business was surprisingly starting to pick up. Me, FOH Manager, and Cool Coworker 1 found ourselves in the weeds several times and requested that either owner or general manager could come help us out. During the peak of the rush, FOH Manager came to me with tears in her eyes and fully flustered out. "Are you good?" I asked her. "No, I'm backed up with tables right now, trying to handle the front lobby," which was packed with a 45-minute waiting time crowd. "I can't get a hold of general manager, and owner doesn't want to help." "Wait, what do you mean owner doesn't want to help? Doesn't she run this place?" "Yes, but she says that it's not her job to pull us out of the weeds, and that we need to fix this situation ourselves, or else she'll start sending people home." "What? That's insane. She actually said that to you?" "Yep, so we just gotta try our best and push hard." I looked at FOH Manager, trying to be as reassuring as possible. "We got this. Just think about the end of the day when we're counting all our tips. It'll be worth it in the end. Just hang in there." FOH Manager smiled at me, and we returned to our grind. Just by chance, about an hour after me and FOH Manager's conversation, the internet gave way. Our POS system, Toast, can only run properly when connected to the internet, so we had to announce that until the internet issue is fixed, we can only take cash. Well, this really upset half of the customers, as they were only paying with their big hefty golden metallic American Express cards. FOH Manager looked like she was about to lose her mind. She paced back and forth in the kitchen, trying to reassure herself that everything would be okay. Cool Coworker 1 and I walked over to FOH Manager to try and calm her down, but it was to no avail. Me, being the self-pronounced computer expert, decided to investigate the internet issue. I walked back to the office to find owner messing around with the router. "What's going on with the internet? We have customers that can only pay with card up front, and your FOH Manager is freaking the heck out." Owner looked at me with an enraged face. We won't be having internet for possibly the next couple of hours. AT&T says they will send somebody up to fix it, but I'm not confident they'll get here soon. So what are we going to do about all the people that can't pay with cash? Some of them are in a rush to get out and don't have time to wait for the internet to come back on. I will personally go out there and let them know that they are not allowed to leave until they give a valid form of pay. If any of them leave, I will be calling the sheriff's department to let them know that we have people stealing. Can't we just get their names and phone numbers or something? I can't deal with this raucous crowd. Your tables aren't turning and you're losing business. There's gotta be something we can do. Owner cuts me off. No, if they ate, they are going to pay. I will not be losing money off of some faulty internet. And who are you to tell me about my business? You're a server. You don't know anything about business. Go tell them they'll have to stay then. I'm not going to be the one getting my behind chewed out for something that's not even my fault. Go out there and tell them if they ate, they will have to stay. It's not my job to go out and deal with the public. You're a server for a reason. Now go out there and do your job. I reluctantly walked out to the front and informed FOH manager that owner would not let anybody who has eaten leave without paying. Chaos ensued for the next 3 hours as the three of us had to deal with angry customers. Fast forward 2 months. FOH manager has put her 2 weeks notice in. As soon as she put her notice in, owner fired her. I don't take notices. You're either here or gone for good. Now get out of my restaurant. FOH manager left in a rage-filled fit as she cussed out owner and pointed out all the things she's been doing wrong. I don't know who you think you're talking to, honey. I'm the most powerful businesswoman in the country, and I can make sure you never get a job again. In fact, if I hear about or see you working anywhere in this county, I will have you fired. Nobody talks to me like that and gets away with it. I questioned the legality of this statement made by owner to cool coworker 1. We can take this to the Better Business Bureau, but I don't want to risk being blackballed in my home county, said cool coworker 1. 2 hours after FOH manager was fired, owner came up to me and promoted me to new FOH manager. The voice in the back of my head was telling me not to take the promotion, but I didn't want to question what owner wanted, as I just witnessed what her potential could be on ruining my career. The story of my time as manager will be coming soon, and it'll be much more juicy than this. If you read this, thank you, Mr. Reddit. You've carried me through several months of anxiety and given me a glimmer of positivity and happiness through your stories. Thank you. Part 2 will be coming soon. Entitled Grandmother Threatens to Disown Me for Dyeing My Hair. Hi, Mr. Reddit and the Re-Army. I'm new to the channel and don't use Reddit much. English is my first language, so any errors are fully on me just being not the brightest. Also, I am on mobile. Sorry. This story is about 2 years old at this point, but I thought I would share it with you anyway. So, enough rambling. On to the cast. We've got me, the only grandchild my grandmother has. We've got entitled Grandmother. We've got best friend from the hermit crab story, mostly just in mention. 2 years ago, me and my BFF were planning on going to Disney World for the first time ever. We couldn't have been more excited if we tried. This was a big dream come true. A couple weeks before we were going to leave, we had come up with the idea to dye our hair. Her parents were okay with the idea, and my mom even offered to do it for us. My parents were alright with it, so long as it wasn't the full head and not a crazy color. Everything was going according to plan. I even bought the dye straight away and let BFF's mom know. We couldn't be happier. That was until entitled Grandmother found out. Now, entitled Grandmother is a strictly religious grandmother. When she found out that we were planning to dye our hair, she freaked out. It wasn't like I could hide the fact I was going to get it done since she lived with us at that time. Our conversation left me speechless to the point where I wanted to cry. I am a Hufflepuff after all. Entitled Grandmother. Is it true you're planning on dyeing your hair? Me. Just a dip dye, Grandma. Nothing crazy. How dare you dye your beautiful hair? You know that's just how God made you. You should respect that. I do, Grandma. It's a temporary dye. It'll come out pretty fast. Plus, it's not the full head. Mom and Dad don't have any issues with it. What color are you putting in your hair? Red. I've always wanted red hair, but sadly I was born a brunette. Then there's no need. You already have red in your hair. My mother has always told me the same thing, but to this day, I have no idea what they are on about. I've never seen any red. Me trying to appease her. Even so, I would still like to put some in it so I can see it. Entitled Grandmother firmly says, No. Me, slightly confused. No? If you even touch your hair, I will disown you. Entitled Grandmother had now crossed her arms and glared at me. Honestly, I was hurt and taken back by what she said. How could this be the same loving grandmother I grew up with? Disown me? I will not let my granddaughter dye her hair and look like the world. Like I had said before, she was very religious and still is. You should have been there the time I cut my hair, but that is another story for another day. Grandma, it's just a little red dye. It's nothing crazy. Please understand. Had my grandmother known of the famous "re," she probably would have done it. So please feel free to insert one. She always hated it when she never got her way. Throw away the hair dye, and I will understand. I shook my head and walked off, practically in tears. I call up BFF and tell her what happened. She reassured me that in the end, I wasn't being non-religious by dyeing my hair, and in the end, we both did. Entitled Grandmother was furious and disowned me. Thank God she got over it sooner or later. Next we've got, My Headphones Affect the Education of Karen's Poor Baby. This is my first post on this subreddit, yada yada yada. Background. All of this happened about a year ago at a cleaning job I had to pay my way through university. I was registered with a cleaning agency who would send me to various different places to clean, one of which was a very expensive and pretentious private school for kids under 11. Seriously, this place was like Hogwarts, and I went there about once a fortnight. Also relevant is that I have autism, which means I often struggle with loud and high-pitched noises, which made working in a school full of screaming kids quite hard. I worked out a deal with my boss at the school, whereby when the kids were out in the playground being super loud, I would clean places that were off limits to them and wear headphones. When they went into lessons and were quiet, I would do the public spaces, and all this worked out fine. Anyway, onto the story. Cast. We've got me. We've got Entitled Mom, and we've got my boss. So it's the morning, and all the kids are arriving at school, loud as heck. So I start my day cleaning the teacher's break room. I'm wearing my headphones. I'm jamming out. All is well. Then Entitled Mom bursts through the door, clearly having just dropped off her precious angel. I take out my headphones to see what she wants. Entitled Mom. Oh, I must have the wrong room. I wanted to use the bathroom. Me. No worries, the bathroom is next door on the right. Entitled Mom. Were you wearing headphones? Yeah? That is completely unacceptable. I pay over 10 grand a year for the staff at my baby's school to be wearing headphones at work? Me. Well, What an awful example to be setting to children, that you can listen to music in the workplace. The teachers take my baby's phone away at the start of the day, and you can just wander around with yours? Me. In all fairness, ma'am, the children aren't allowed in this room, and when I'm in spaces where they are allowed, I don't have my phone or headphones on me. You're being totally unprofessional. It's an attitude like that, which means that you're a cleaner, and my child will achieve real success in his life. Me. I'm actually doing this job to pay for my degree. If that were true, you'd be smart enough to know that you don't talk back to the people that pay your wages. Your boss will be hearing about this. She storms out, and about 10 minutes later, she comes back with my boss. I'm feeling stressed out and on the verge of tears. Another side effect of my autism is that confrontation/conflict/being yelled at stresses me out beyond belief. I'm seriously relieved to see my boss, and I can't wait to see the look on entitled mom's face when my boss tells her that my wearing headphones is okay. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. See? Completely unprofessional. Boss. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Entitled Mom. This is unacceptable. OP, will you please apologize and remove your headphones? Me. But I've been working here for months, and I've always worn headphones. You told me it was okay. It is not okay, and we cannot accept you working in this school if you do not comply with our codes of conduct. But you said... Honestly, Mrs. Entitled Mom, I did not and would not condone such a thing. I was about to start crying because I felt so crappy about the whole situation. Then I thought, forget this. I hate this job. I hate being talked down to by snooty parents, teachers, and kids alike. And my boss lying about me to appease this entitled mom was the final straw. Well, are you going to apologize? Me. No. Find someone else to deal with your obnoxious staff and entitled brats. I laid down all my stuff and walked out, and never went back in. My boss at the cleaning agency refused to send the school any more cleaners since they had blatantly lied after telling the agency it was fine for autistic staff to wear headphones. They also insisted I got paid for a full day's work, which the school did. It was very satisfying walking out of that job. I wouldn't wish working as any kind of manual labor staff in a private school on anyone. Next we've got, my entitled mother-in-law doesn't acknowledge my right to speak, then gets mad I don't talk to her. Dear Mr. Reddit, I've been listening to your channel for a long time, as my many disabilities make it difficult for me to do much more than listen to Reddit stories on YouTube. I hope this isn't too long. I just want to share my stories about my extremely entitled mother-in-law. I posted these as separate stories in r/justknowmother-in-law, but I hope they fit in with entitled parents. I've edited them for you and to streamline the narrative. Our cast. We've got entitled mother-in-law. We've got husband. We've got caregiver who was caught in the crossfire. And we've got me. Disclaimer. English is my first language and I'm on PC, but I have muscular dystrophy and am losing my vision, so my typing and proofreading suck these days, but I try. Background. Husband and I have been married for over 21 years. I got along great with mother-in-law before we were married because she lived in Alaska. I only met her a couple of times in the 2 years husband and I dated, and she was at our January wedding. But she was back in the lower 48 for good before the 4th of July, and it has been nothing but fireworks since. I have FSH, muscular dystrophy, and was still pretty able-bodied, relatively speaking, when husband and I got married. But 11 years ago, I needed to get a tracheotomy and am ventilator dependent. My mother-in-law actually spent a lot of time at the hospital until I was stable enough to go home. Around 5 or 6 weeks, I think. Things are kind of fuzzy because I was freaking out that my life was now dependent upon a hole in my throat, 3 feet of plastic tubes, and a machine I didn't understand. I still suffer the effects of PTSD. For 5 years after, mother-in-law was a live-in caregiver, which made sense at the time because she was losing her home and knew more about my situation than anyone else. Though now she's spun it to, I forced her to live with us. I hired other caregivers through the state's Home Healthcare Commission, but mother-in-law was paid as well as provided with free room and board plus utilities. She trained the outside caregivers while husband went back to school. Part 1. When and why I stopped talking to my mother-in-law. This was when mother-in-law was still a live-in caregiver. So even when she was off the clock, she was always here. And she loves interrogating the other caregivers about their religion and politics so she can tell them how wrong they are. She seems indifferent toward the Great Pumpkin. So our cast was assembled in the living room, watching the news, and Cindy Sheehan was all over the news at the time. Mother-in-law, in her infinite wisdom, spoke up and said she was tired of seeing all these people protest when they've never served and haven't experienced sacrifice and lost. I, in my infinite stupidity, blurted out that Cindy Sheehan's son was a soldier and she had lost him in the war. She has experienced sacrifice and loss. Oh, mother-in-law didn't like that. Not one bit. She practically shrieked that she has the right to freedom of speech under this roof, and she pointed to husband and shrieked he has the right of freedom of speech under his roof, and she pointed to caregiver who was actually on duty, who had only been on the job a couple of weeks and would resign by the following week. I wonder why. And shrieked that she has the right to freedom of speech under this roof. I was in a state of shock. I wasn't saying mother-in-law didn't have the right to her opinion or freedom of speech, but you have to expect other people to express their own dissenting opinion occasionally, as is their right. Oh, but mother-in-law was having none of that. And of course I noticed she didn't at any time acknowledge my right to express my opinion or freedom of speech. That's when I shut down around mother-in-law. If she refused to acknowledge my freedom of speech, I wouldn't exercise it. And when she moved out, I honestly forgot the catalyst. I must have accidentally expressed myself without permission. It became even easier to not talk to her. In fact, it's a challenge to muster the strength to say more than 2 words to her to this day. Part 2. Present day. Mother-in-law freaks out because I don't talk to her about my medical information. So yes, 5 years after I got the trach, things eventually came to a head, and she stormed out of the house exclaiming she quit. Mother-in-law did move out, but insisted she didn't quit caregiving because money. But we kept paring her hours back and hiring more outside caregivers until mother-in-law only works weekend graveyard shift. However, this week, my weekday graveyard caregiver had to begin a hiatus for an indeterminate period of time for reasons that are a whole nother ball of anxiety-ridden wax. Mother-in-law had actually suggested in the past that she take over the weekday shift because she needs the money. So again, it seemed natural to ask her to fill in. Mother-in-law accepted, but on the first night she found out that I had just gotten a smartphone. I rarely leave the house, so depend on my landline, but hate asking caregivers to text husband or others on my behalf when I'm at a doctor's appointment and such. She absolutely freaked out. She shrieked, "You don't tell me anything." That led to her ranting about how she used to go to all my doctor's appointments and knew every intimate detail of my medical information and all my care routines, and the hired caregivers know more than she does these days, even though she used to train them. Yeah, because they take me to my doctor's appointments, administer my meds, etc. My reasoning is, mother-in-law and husband put me in bed, and then mother-in-law works while I'm asleep. She comes in my room once or twice a night to help turn me and empty the condensation from my breathing tubes, so I figured anything else is on a need-to-know basis. I have very little privacy or personal space, therefore I didn't feel the need to blab every gory detail of my personal info. Anyway, I thought this might be malicious compliance, ask and ye shall receive, or petty revenge. Here's a stack of papers, choke on it. But really, I guess I caved to the entitled mother-in-law. The next day, I spent the afternoon and evening printing out articles from medical websites and compiling lists. When mother-in-law came in that night, I handed her a list of all my medications, 4 pages, a list of all my doctors and their info, 2 pages, and a stack of articles about each and every one of my diagnoses. I mustered my courage to speak and told her about the status of my new wheelchair, still being built, and how I may need to see the neurologist again soon, and gave her a calendar with the doctor's appointments I have scheduled this month, etc. I just spilled my guts, intending to overwhelm her with information. I told her I'd keep her updated on any changes, and asked that she let me know if she had any questions. That seems to have shut her up for now, on that topic anyway. For those concerned, I handed her the keys to the kingdom, and she'll use this information to take over my care management. I honestly don't think she looked at any of it. She had no questions. Her behavior didn't change toward me. I mean, if she truly had read and absorbed the info about the autoimmune disease attacking my eyes, Google OCP eye disease if you're curious. I won't torture you with a tongue twister of a name. And the immunosuppressive drugs I take to keep my immune system from killing my eyeballs, she wouldn't have come into work the rest of the week with a respiratory infection, let alone borrow my clothes and sleep in my bed on her shift. But then, she is an entitled mother-in-law to the core. Entitled mom shoves her kid into my classroom and runs. This is my first post on this forum, so please be gentle with me. Not sure if this is entitled parents or choosing beggars. For context, in my late teens and early 20s, I ran a free after-school program for kids out of a community center. The program was for kids ages 8 to 12 whose parents were currently undergoing a messy divorce. We had a sister program next door for parents of the kids. It was part class, part community group, part group counseling, where the kids, myself, and another volunteer discussed handling anger, prepared them for joint custody, changes in finances, what alimony and child support were, etc. The class was free. Some of the materials were paid for by the center, and the rest I covered myself. I liked the class, and it gave me a bit of padding on my resume, so I didn't mind buying snacks, coloring materials, and prizes for the kids. At the time, we were a few weeks into the class, and I had 8 kids who were attending. 8 is a great number, because do you know how many things come in packs of 8? It meant I bought stuff in those 8 packs so each kid would have something, and I didn't waste money on spares. So this afternoon, the kids are coming in, and this parent I haven't met with an unknown kid comes by and sort of drops the kid off without a word to me or her child. It's been a few years, but here is the conversation I remember. Me. Ma'am? Ma'am. Entitled mom. What? Me. Hi, I don't think we've met. Your son isn't enrolled in this class, currently. You can't just drop him off with me. I was told this class is free. It is, but it's not a daycare. You do have to enroll your kid first. In the beginning of the term, I can't watch any kid who comes by. There are things I need to know, like allergies, emergency contacts. I kinda laugh. His name? Well, you can ask me right now. I'm sorry, but the class is starting right now, so I can't. But you can enroll him in the next term. You can find information on how to do that at Insert Information. Entitled mom rolls her eyes. I have an appointment. Can't you just take him? For the record, the parents were supposed to be enrolled in the class across the hall, not just use us for free childcare. I can't. Besides, I didn't know I'd have another student today, so I don't have enough supplies or snacks for him. Oh, he doesn't need any snacks. He won't mind. Ma'am, of course he is going to mind. All the kids are eating Nutella snack pads and Capri Suns, and all the other kids have workbooks and he doesn't. It's not fair to him. Besides, it's not really safe for me to watch a kid that I have no information for, so you can sign him up for the next term. Entitled mom gets all huffy. Fine. Entitled mom grabs her kid and storms off. That was the end of it, or so I thought. A few minutes later, I'm working with the kids, and the other volunteer is setting up our next activity. The door opens a crack. The same kid as before is shoved in, and the door slams. The other volunteer and I share a what the heck look, but I open the door and look out, and entitled mom is booking it down the hallway. Me. Ma'am! Entitled mom yelling without turning around. I'll be back in a few hours. Me. Never mind, the class is only an hour long, half running after her. Ma'am, if you don't come and collect your son, I will call the police about an unaccompanied minor. He won't be here when you get back. Entitled mom stops, sighs, turns around, and pegs me with a glare. You are being so unflexible. This is terrible customer service. Me. You're not a customer. Please take your son. Entitled mom grabs her kid's hand and starts storming off while yelling, I can't believe you would call the police on a child. What kind of a teacher are you? I am going to tell your boss about how horrible you were to me and my son. To this day, I wonder if she attempted to talk to my boss about my behavior, or imagining the look on her face when she found out the boss of the program was me. Next we've got Entitled mother gets angry at me for manhandling her son after he broke my parents' fence, then refuses to pay because he said sorry. So, this will be my first post ever on this sub, I think. But I have been reading stories on this subreddit for a long time, and well, I just had my first real encounter with an entitled mother, and honestly, I'm still part shocked and part laughing about it. Also of note, I am not a native English speaker, so I had to translate it all. Act 1. A Song of Fences and Footballs. So, for a bit of backstory, my parents sometimes ask me or my siblings to watch the house while they are gone because they do not want to leave the dogs alone for an extended period of time. Usually my youngest sibling does it because she still lives at home, but she had to go to her friend's party/sleepover. As a result, my parents asked if I had time, and given I did not have to work today, and I only have one crappy class that I can skip without any real trouble, I obliged. My parents live in a large village essentially, one that gives you the illusion of rural, but in reality, it is a 5 to 10 minute drive from several bigger towns and a city. One of those villages you want to leave as a 20-year-old, but you want to return to the moment you have your own kids. There is barely any crime. Everyone knows everyone. It is extremely calm, etc. However, it has one issue. One of the larger towns close to the village is sort of notorious for scummy people. It is one of those towns that constantly manages to mess up its budget, and a good third of its population are lazy, and so on. It's like a giant pimple on an otherwise blemishless area. As a result, when people from said town manage to get some money, they have a tendency to move to the village my parents live in. Local government makes this nice and difficult for them on the down low, but they can't stop it all. And as expected, they bring their attitude with them. Our entitled mother and her devil spawn in this great saga are from said town. Our cast. We've got me, the Wizard of Oz. We've got entitled kid. We've got entitled mother, entitled dad, and the neighbor. So, I am sitting in the garden, minding my own business, scrolling through some news sites, messaging some friends, enjoying the nice weather, which is interrupted by the sound of a football being shot against my parents' house and the neighbor's house. We have this carport area between the two houses, which is roomy, and makes sure you don't lose your ball all the time. So my parents generally allow kids to use it when they're at work. So this continues for a bit, and before long, the ball shoots right over the fence in the back of our yard, which I frankly did not notice as I was on my phone. However, I am quickly interrupted by the dog growling. Extremely big mix German and Belgian Shepherd, followed by the loud crack of wood and a thump from something large falling down. Well, I see the kid from 2 houses further falling down and my dog about to charge, so I put my phone on the table, grab the dog by its collar, and put it inside. In the meantime, the kid is already in the yard grabbing his ball and sprinting back to the broken fence. The fence is about 1.8 meters tall, made of wooden planks. Hence, it's not exactly made to withstand 13-year-old overweight kids climbing on it. The kid attempts to climb back over, cracking another plank at the bottom in his escape attempt before I walk over and grab him by the back of his shirt collar. Me. And where do you think you're going? Entitled kid. Let me go! Let me go! Me. I don't think so. You just broke the fence, so you can either calm down and we go to your house to explain what happened, or I can call the police. At this point, the kid starts flailing, trying to get himself loose. That is, until he turns around and looks at me. Now, I am 6'5", 6'6", in very good physical shape, and I have permanent resting jerk face, so he quickly stopped. At this point, I grabbed the key from my pocket and opened the door to the yard door to walk over to his house, with the kid still firmly by his shirt collar. As we reach the door, I knock on it and am greeted by the sound of a yelling woman behind the closed door, talking about how the kid has a key and now she has to get up, etc. But eventually, the door opened, and at this point, from the corner of my eye, I could already see my neighbor standing behind his living room window, arms crossed, shaking his head. Me. Hello, miss, you, entitled mom.
Let go of my boy right now. What is wrong with you?
I let go, primarily because I was shocked about her reaction. The kid starts sobbing like a 5-year-old and runs inside.
How dare you touch my son?
Well, if you would stop yelling and let me explain.
I am not yelling.
Note, she was yelling. Right, regardless. Your son just broke my parents' fence, trying.
And that gives you the right to manhandle my son?
I did not manhandle your son. I grabbed the collar of his shirt because he was trying to run away after he broke the fence. Now you can either calm down and we can come to an agreement how to handle this, or I can call the police and have them deal with it. At this point, she seemed to calm down a bit more, especially after I mentioned the word police.
Right, so it is probably not that bad.
She calls over her son, apparently having fixed his sadness as he appears again stuffing his face with candy.
Say you're sorry to the neighbor.
Sorry. And he bolts off again, not even giving me a chance to reply.
Well, with that out of the way,
she attempts to close the door, but I quickly shake off my shock and put my foot in the door, pushing the door open again, and at this point, raising my voice substantially. Excuse me? Your son broke the fence. It's all fine and dandy he gave an apology on your orders, but that still leaves the fact he just broke a 200-year-old wooden fence that will need to be replaced. Entitled Mom.
My son said sorry, and that is the end of it.
At this point, the neighbor has opened his door, leaning against his doorpost to listen in as his eyes are summoning a hurricane by the sheer amount of rolling they are doing. Just a little note, he dislikes them a lot. He has had a lot of problems with them ever since they moved in. Once again, our entitled mom attempts to close the door on me, but I still have my foot in the doorway, so all she is doing is giving my toes a thrashing. Me. Look, this is the last time her hulking 5'5" muscle mass of a husband appears now, visibly upset, annoyed, every muscle within his noodle arms straining, his balding head glistening in the sun peeking through the door opening, though slightly obscured by the 3 strands of hair combed over his head from the side as his enormous shape looks up at his taller wife. Entitled Dad.
And what is the problem here? He is yelling at me and manhandled our son.
I will get you, you jerk! The door swings open, and as you may imagine, I am just shaking on my legs. This pure, mighty example of masculinity threatening to do me harm. Gosh, I have never been so terrified in my life. Look, dude, I didn't do jack crap to your son, and the only one who has been yelling this entire time is your wife. Now, your son broke my parents' fence, so you can either get it repaired or give me the money to buy a new one and pay me for the time it takes to replace it. I wouldn't have charged labor costs, but given they were being jerks, so can I. Or we can get the police involved.
You have no proof of what happened, so go fix it yourself, jerk. And if I ever see...
Neighbor, I saw everything. Your son broke the fence and tried to run away. Also, your wife just assaulted the neighbor with the door. You can clearly spot a devious smirk on the neighbor's face. He likely did not see anything, but like I said, he absolutely hates them. And this was him taking revenge, I think. At the same time, I can see entitled mom and entitled dad visibly losing all the bravado they had left. Me. So, as I was saying, the fence cost 200 euros when my parents purchased it. Add another 50 for the time it takes me to replace it, and we all walk away from this. Added to that, if you threaten me again, I will just have to defend myself, won't I? At this point, I was honestly sort of hoping he would lose his cool and attack me, because you have reasonable cause to defend yourself in this case, and honestly, I don't handle threats very well, and I have quite a temperament myself, so you may imagine I was seething at this point. But of course, he backed off. He told me he'd get me the money tomorrow. I reminded him if I or my parents did not get it before tomorrow evening, I would be sure to call the police. Also, I informed them their kid was no longer allowed to play on our property, the carport. I thanked my neighbor and returned to the yard to scroll on my phone, make this post, and laugh about this stupid ordeal. Update. Since I saw no mention in the rules that updates are not allowed, and since a lot of people asked me for one, I figured I am good to go, and I figured this way of updating would be easier. Also, I just sort of want to use Act 2, A Clash of Dads, and it would be lost in an extremely long post if I add it to my other post. Also, it would sort of look messy, you know. I may have minor OCD of the obsessive variant when it comes to threads. So as I said on my previous post, I am not a native English speaker/writer. As such, excuse any mistakes as I am translating everything that was said. The day had passed without any real excitement, apart from the lords of the fortress returning, my parents. It went from morning to afternoon, and soon the daylight was starting to fade. It was nearing dinner time. So basically, I had already informed my parents as to what happened on the phone. I chose to explain it again in further detail when they got home. I showed them the fence, and my dad was unhappy to say the least. Like I said, there is some history there already, and these neighbors in question have been nothing but an annoyance to the entire street. But it seemed this time they took it a step too far in my dad's book. Regardless, I explained to him that they agreed to pay up for the fence before the evening, so he should expect them to be at the door anytime with the 250 euros agreed upon, which was honestly the only thing that stopped him from going over there himself and giving them a piece of his mind. Lo and behold, at the last possible moment when I was ready to call the police, Dumb and Dumber decided to show up. So my dad opens the door with me right behind him. My dad. So, finally decided to show up? Entitled Mom.
Yeah, we are here to talk about what happened. How dare you think your son can talk to us like that?
I let out a great big sigh. My dad. No, you are here to pay for the damages to my fence. Beside that, I want absolutely nothing to do with you people. It was at this point, yet again, my knees nearly gave out as her husband appeared from behind her. His shape sculpted by the gods enough to intimidate even a Spartan in the days of Leonidas. Entitled Dad.
And what is that supposed to mean?
My dad. That I want you to pay for the damages your son did to my fence, and then I want to go back to not speaking to you. Again, it may sound harsh, but like I said, not the first rodeo with these people. Entitled Mom.
How dare you? We are here to talk about how rude your son was.
Me. Was I rude before or after you yelled at me and slammed the door against my foot? Or perhaps when your husband made his hilarious attempt to threaten me? You should have seen the dude's face as he was muttering to come up with some sort of smart comeback. It was also at this point that my neighbor walked over to our front lawn, peeking over the hedge, about 150 centimeters tall, surrounding the front lawn. My dad. Look, are you going to pay for the damages, or are we just going to have to call the police? I am in no mood to deal with you people any longer than I am absolutely forced to deal with you. Entitled Mom.
No, First, we want your son to apologize for how he behaved.
Me. Could you please stop yelling? We have neighbors, you know. Entitled Mom.
See? Being rude again.
Entitled Dad.
You better tone down the attitude.
At this point, I am just done with these people. I am certainly not going to say sorry for, I'm not sure what I was supposed to say sorry for in the first place. So I grab my phone and start going through the numbers. Since the non-emergency police line is somewhere saved when you buy the phone most of the time. Me. Right. I'm calling the police. We'll just have them deal with it. My dad. Good idea. Now you people get the heck off of my front lawn. We'll have the police deal with this. Entitled Mom.
What? No. Ugh. Just give him the money, Entitled Dad.
I could see Entitled Dad's bravado disappear once again. It was like he was deflating, for the lack of a better word. At this point, he just walked over to my dad, pulled the money from his pocket, and handed it to him. My dad. Was that truly so hard? My neighbor had the brightest, most forget-you-esque smile on his face and yells over. Sure seems like it was. Some people just don't know how to behave. I could see Entitled Mom keeping herself back from absolutely blowing up. Her fingertips dug into her hand palm, stomping back to her house, likely breaking one of those incredibly gross, extremely long pink nails. Hilariously enough, her deflated husband immediately follows her, pretty much like an obedient little shadow. And that, my friends, is the end of my story. Or is it? And shoutouts to our Regenerals of the day, Liam, Soul Cheapy Gotcha, and Jennifer. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by leaving as many rees as you can in the comments below, and please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep.